Okay, so today me and Peter have been hanging out. We played a couple of acoustic songs, and this is kind of becoming a weekly tradition for the Apollo camp. Once a week somebody stops by, we kind of hang out for a few hours, and I put up a thread, ask anybody if they have any questions, and I know for most of us in the band, we've kind of been able to give our story and kind of tell our story about how we got here. I think probably the guy that has the most history of all of us is Peter, you know, and so it's kind of cool to have him come in and kind of give you guys a breakdown on how he came to be a part of Apollo, and also answer some of the questions that we had up on Facebook. So, you know, Pete, it's I guess technically the first time we met was at the Johnny Jam, back in Orlando about 5 years ago. I don't know how many years ago.
It was a while ago.
Y'all were doing the 20th anniversary, I think, for the Candlebox.
That would be 2013.
Yeah, so that was, almost 3 years ago, I guess, going on. So right around that time, Peter, they just started touring on that record. And that went for...
Yeah, I think that was Love Stories and Other Musings, and I remember hanging out with, what was Seven Dust was on that bill too?
Seven Dust, the Tremonti Camp guys were there, which we had some of the Alter Bridge guys, I think, were there too.
Yeah, that was a good time, and I remember sitting in one of the smaller dressing rooms, and Donald came in with his family and just kind of plopped down. I was like, hey.
Yeah, and Jess, his wife, was pregnant with their first child, Avery.
Yep.
So, I think y'all were in the last trimester or something. So, you know, right around that last little bit of a pregnancy, I don't know anybody out there that's been through it. You're just kind of ready for it to happen. You know, but at the same sense, you're kind of scared. You don't really know what to expect. And here I come walking into the rock show with, you know, probably my 3 and 5 year old, you know, I mean, they're 4 and 6 or something, and they were kind of, you know, veterans at that point of the whole rock scene. But that's kind of how we started out. We just had a great talk about family and, you know, our kids, and, you know, being, you know, married and having family in the music business. It's just different, you know, and sometimes you get out there on a night-to-night basis, and it's hard to find people that you can relate to. You know, and I think right off the bat for us, we were able to relate a great deal, and on top of that, you were moving from Seattle to Tampa.
Yeah, I was thinking of going to Nashville to just get out of the rain in Seattle and for a change, and a friend of mine that lives here suggested I come here, so I did. Then we met, or then my wonderful wife, which I forgot my ring, sorry, baby. She said, you need to call that guy. You need to call that guy. And I was like, yeah, I know. And she's like, okay, have you called him yet? I was like, no. I was like, you need to call him.
Yeah.
So I think finally the ladies got together and said, you boys are getting together.
Yeah.
So he mentioned going to Limelight Studios in St. Pete.
Yeah.
Thank you, Brian.
Yeah. Mike, yeah.
That's where it really all started. We'd meet there because it was kind of halfway. And that's where he showed me Wings and
started going over ideas. I mean, at that time it was, you know, and just to even take the story, you know, a little further back, it was the chances of us meeting in Tampa, Florida are so slim. You know, I grew up in Texas. I grew up in Dallas, Texas. You know, metal scene with Pantera and all this stuff. But for whatever reason, I was drawn to the Seattle music scene. You know, I was all about the Seattle bands. And so the Candlebox record was a huge influence for me. And so, you know, I never would have fathomed, you know, that number one, I'd be moving to Florida, you know, and teaming up with the Creed camp and all these people. And so that was a dream come true. But then years later, to kind of go through the rise and falls, and then to end up in Tampa, and then for you to move to Seattle down to Tampa was just crazy. So, you know, on top of all that, it was, you know, finally we're here, you know, we're starting to come together, and we didn't know what we were doing. I was just asking Peter for help, you know. I was like, I want to make some music. I want to make music that I'm used, like my roots, you know, going back to the foundation. You know, I've been playing metal for so long.
Yeah. And I remember he's like, look, I have these song ideas that are much more stripped down and more of a world that I've been trying to express.
Yeah.
And I want to show you them. And so I was instantly drawn, and you know, Wings and what was the other one? When It Rains.
Wings, When It Rains.
Tracked vocals for both of those on a scratch guitar that he did, and I lived with that for a week or so. We'd meet every week, I think.
Yeah. It was very unorthodox process. I mean, usually as a band, you have a central meeting place. You go there, create, and you keep coming back and create. And this is really a process of like bits and pieces. I'd have to give Peter something to take back to his lab at home, and then he would sit there and develop this idea. I mean, I have a vision in here, but I've never been the guy to like bring it to life.
Interesting fact, I'm pretty sure, 95% sure that the vocal verses on Wings are the ones that we recorded that day in session to document that song.
Yeah.
I don't think we redid those. Did everything else, but that's the same.
We kept those sessions, and then I think Wait was another song where I laid a scratch vocal on it for us to track over, and then when we went back and tried to re-record Wait, it didn't click, so we used that original.
Actually, it's that one or Even When It Rains, the same thing.
Yeah.
There was just something about them.
There was something about those first few months of getting together that there was magic there, and I know I was coming off touring with I Empire for 3 straight years, singing music that's not, conducive for throat health. So I think I was rebounding a lot. So, it was pretty interesting how it all came together. I mean, as far as we're concerned, God's had a big part in bringing us all together and keeping us sane.
It's amazing how everything is falling in place according to what we feel was God's plan for us.
Yeah, and
it's too coincidental.
On His time, and that's something I think is the biggest part for us. Not only have we been on this journey for a while to lead to this point, but this journey in itself has been a test of patience and perseverance and optimism and all those things that I guess it takes to accomplish any dream in life, which is pretty important. So I mean, that's kind of how we got going on this, and I know some of these questions actually relate to songwriting, so it probably helps to kind of get into those. But let's keep it stateside first. We have Tom Kaiser. Tom Kaiser here in the United States. He wants to say, he says, first of all, glad to see you continuing on, DC. Much respect, which I appreciate that, Tom. I know that I've seen your name pop across Facebook for many years now, and I know Peter agrees. We don't get to see you guys all the time, but we do get to know you a little bit. I know there's certain people that he probably knows by first name just from all the support over time, so we appreciate it. Thank you, Tom. His question for Peter is, do you collaborate with each other prior to writing, or is it a matter of Peter coming up with the riffs, etc., and having a song basically written before you get a chance at it, or do I write lyrics and then vice versa, Peter creates the song?
Well, most of the songs on this record are ideas that Donald already had, and he had vocal melodies and lyrics. And he just said, here, look, I have these songs, help me develop it, and that's what I did. But normally, for example, Gotta Believe and Weightless are ideas that I already had, almost complete.
They were,
And I said, here, do what you do on it. But most of the time for me is, I just play the guitar, and if I come up with something, I don't even bother with any of the ideas that I come up with if it doesn't stir something inside me.
Yeah.
At that point, I know by instinct, and I believe in my instinct, that there's something special about it. And then I said, here, same goes with any band I'm in, with any singer. I say, here, this does something for me. Does it do anything for you?
Exactly.
And if they feel that it does something for them and stirs it, then they'll work on it. If it doesn't, they say, I'm not getting it. And then you just move on. Literally.
Well, even Gotta Believe and Weightless, those are ideas that you that you had presented previously. And for whatever reason, it just didn't click down the line. And we're a lot of alike in that sense. And I know that when Peter first comes up with an idea, he doesn't try to overthink it too much either. It's kind of, he's trying to invoke that melody to the song, which definitely I enjoy the most about writing with him. I think that's what makes him a good producer as well. For any of those bands out there that are looking for somebody to help them develop songs, is the fact that he can take something that's simple and really kind of, you know, build it from there. I mean, I can't even explain, when you hear these songs on this record, where they started and where they ended up are two completely different places. And there were moments during the which we recorded and wrote this at the same time. You have to understand that a lot of these layers and parts that Peter put on there weren't things that he had for months at a time. They happened that moment in the studio, and he would turn around and look at me and be like, you know, is this too much? You know, and I'm like, put another layer on there, you know, and we ended up with like 8 layers, you know, for the bridge on Wings or whatever it was. But it was it's a really cool process, you know, keeping it simple, you know, trying to inspire that next piece of the puzzle in each other, whether I'm trying to come up with the guitar part that inspires him, or, you know, vice versa.
And DC actually, for example, Weight and Wings, those acoustics are not me, they're him. And I would not have been able to play them the way they're played. And it's extremely important that he did that, because it doesn't have the same feel when I play it. So, and you're all over that. Wings,
Wait, a couple other songs. Yeah, I mean, Sweet Freedom obviously is.
Sweet Freedom, that's all gone.
Yeah, it's
the whole thing until the end.
Yeah, and it's there's a little surprise there for you on the back end of that one, which is a lot of fun. But no, it's definitely, I think, it started out as one of those, you know, Peter helped me develop these ideas and turned into a collaboration that, you know, we wouldn't have any other way. And that goes for everybody down the line, you know, throughout the band. You know, we're finally at a point now where we have everybody here, and it's only going to make that process.
The other thing too, I have to give props on, is to Tom as a drummer. I did not know what to expect when we went into the studio. And he had these ideas, but he made my job a lot easier to get these songs developed, because he understood, and even a lot of it were really all his ideas. And then I said, well, can you try it this way? And so he really pulled his weight on this record.
He stepped up to the plate for sure. I know Don Saunders, he had kind of the same the question, which is, you know, in regards to songwriting, do you start with a riff and build around it, or do you like to have a basic chord structure and add the riffs later? So I guess that would be more of a.
It's exactly what we did.
Yeah, like a lead thing.
Pieces. Yeah,
like a lead thing. Like, I mean, how do you?
Yeah, I'm not really a riff rock guitar player, writer.
You know what? He's not. But I will say this. I think, to me, sometimes what make a lot of great songs, and even in that early Seattle sound days and other music that came out through the early 90s, was the fact that you could have a hook on the guitar that could carry a song. You know what I mean? Like you would develop a certain, you know, Far Behind, you know, something like that. There's these riffs that are timeless, and I know me as a singer, when I come to them, you don't sing over them. You don't even think about it. You're like, you know, this stands alone, and those are huge. And I know that's an aspect of Apollo music that I think's big, and that's like Gotta Believe. You know, the 12-string riff at the beginning of that. We had the basic idea for that song, but as soon as Peter started layering that 12-string on the top of it, it just took it to a whole nother level.
Yeah, 12 strings all over this thing.
Pretty amazing, pretty awesome. And this is good when it kind of fits in the writing question vein, but it's a little different. Brian G, I'll say, I don't want to butcher your last name, but you know who you are. He said, how has your writing process changed since Candlebox? Does the singer make any difference in the songwriting style? And
yeah, absolutely. With Candlebox, Kevin, mostly through the first probably 4 records until we got into Love Stories, is very single vocal oriented. It would maybe double parts, but there was not a lot of harmonies going on. I don't know what their new record's going to be like, but I imagine there's probably more harmonies. With Lotus and Terry, he's all about harmonies, layering massive vocals. Donald is a different breed again, but yet there's still harmonies in there. And it really, again, goes about here. And, you know, Lotus has a record, and there were songs that I presented to Terry that he just didn't feel it, didn't work for him. Mm-hmm. And then that song presented to Donald, or vice versa, to him first and then Terry, you know.
Yeah.
It really depends on if they go, yes, I can do something, it feels right, and that's really what it comes down to.
Yeah, I mean, for me, the songwriting is a spiritual experience, so it's one of those things that I don't ever want to understand completely, because I really kind of like surrendering myself and having that feeling of the song writes itself, you know what I mean? And so I usually, kind of like you said, you either hear it either inspires you right off or not, and you just kind of pick and choose from that point. But I know that there's certain riffs that you wrote in Candlebox with Kevin's ability to really kind of grit it and hit it. Yeah. That probably would be different in Lotus, and then also for Apollo. But yeah, a lot of that stuff really, rather than the singer itself, it really comes across the vision of the band together.
It's always the writing and the vocal. It's like, that's why there's always Kevin and I created a certain thing.
Yeah.
But the rhythm section is extremely important as well.
Yeah.
But you know what I mean? It's the melodies are usually coming from guitar player and singer.
It's like two dances going on at once. You have the bassist, drummer that are in this dance. And then you have the vocalist and the guitar player.
I mean, what I like about Apollo is that Donald's voice is different. It's deep, but yet it has this grit, and he can get up there, and it's just very thick and powerful. And with Apollo, as opposed to Lotus, I was able to do what I do as a guitar player all the way.
Yeah.
Lotus is a different breed. The producer had ideas for that, and it's excellent, and I'm very proud of it.
Yeah, it's awesome.
The difference is that in this band, as a guitar player, and the fact that I was able to produce it, I got to do everything I wanted.
Exactly.
Guitar, it's like heaven for me. So, it just depends on the band, really.
Yeah, it's been fun. I mean, even if I sit down and get a tattoo, I never tell the artist, like, do this. I'm like, I trust you. You're the artist. And as soon as we sat down and started working, I was like, man, I trust you so much. Just use your heart, just feel it. So it's been an amazing process.